Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to a Star Wars The Old Republic quick guide on the Foundry. I am your host Ghost Zeeg. Today we're going to be covering key trash, mini-bosses, and bosses and their mechanics. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Okay, so the first piece of key trash that we're going to encounter is the Foundry Keeper unit. These are those gigantic robot looking things that walk around. They do hit pretty hard, so just tank them away from everybody else and stun lock them as much as you can. Other than that, you don't really need to worry about them. Also, the next piece of key trash that you're going to encounter are the Jedi Defenders. Now these things do this thing called telekinetic throw, where they'll throw rocks all over the place, and it hurts really bad, but you can kite away from it, so just make sure you're doing that. They also have a stun, so just make sure you're nuking these things down as quickly as possible and stunning them as much as you can. Alright, so the first boss you're going to encounter is the Foundry Guardian. Now this guy is super easy to down. He only has 71k health. The only ability that he has and or mechanic is Molten Burst, and this thing is a little channel around him, but if you do stand in it, for everybody who's melee, you are going to die. So just make sure as soon as you see him start channeling Molten Burst, you get out of there as quickly as possible by using a dash ability or something in the nature. Okay, so the next boss is a mini boss, and this is Master Soralis. He needs to get tanked away from the rest of the group along with the Jedi Defender that is with him, because they both do that telekinetic throw as well, and it hurts really bad. If the DPS do get hit by a healer, just make sure you're spot healing them, or DPS, just go ahead and pop a defensive cooldown. You need to nuke down the Jedi Defender as quickly as possible before him himself actually, because she has less health, she does the telekinetic throw too, and she has a stun, and you don't want her in the equation. Without her, he's a very simple boss, and either way he's going to go down really easily. The next boss you're going to fight is HK-47. HK-47 is kind of a bugged fight, and I really didn't like it, but we'll get more into it. So the first ability he's going to use is Flamethrower. When he uses Flamethrower, tank, you stand on one side of the fight, DPS and healer, you all stand on the other. That's so the tank can kite back and forth and not have to stand in the flames, but he won't pull it into any of the DPS or anything like that. The next ability that he's probably going to use is Knockback. This is where he knocks everybody in the group back across the room. He'll usually yell a little emote, and then you'll know the droids are incoming. When this happens, he's going to go spawn on the other side of the room as the droids that are incoming. There will be 2 droids that will come out. Just nuke these ads down as quickly as possible. He'll go back to the center of the room, and you can keep fighting him. Another ability that he's going to keep using throughout the entire fight is Snipe. This does hurt a lot, and it's going to target a random player. So healer, if somebody really suffers a lot of damage from this, make sure you spot heal them for it. And the last thing that really matters with this is he's going to start channeling this ability called Engaged Core. Now this is the bugged part of the fight that I was talking about, because there's a timer for it, like a cast timer, and it'll go off before that timer's actually out. So if you're a melee DPS or a tank, just make sure you kind of hang back while he's channeling this, and you don't go in for it, because that huge core that's above him will actually come down on top of you and kill you. So just hang back for that. Once that core actually does come down, you need to click all 4 buttons on the sides and then kill off the 2 ads that have spawned. After you do that, you go back to HK, you nuke him down the rest of the way, and the fight's over before you know it. Next is a little mini boss called N410. He is skippable, but if you do want to fight him, Just avoid those little flame droids and the circle around him that he spawns on the floor. Those are the number one thing that's going to kill you. If you can kite the barrage, go ahead and do that. And then if you get hit by heat beam, there's no way to kite it. So if you're a melee DPS and you're taking too much damage from it, just pop him a defensive cooldown, or healer be there with a spot heal. Other than that, he's going to go down really easily. The final boss you're going to fight is Revan, and for a final boss he's actually pretty easy. He has a lot of mechanics to him, but none of them are really like a make or break you type thing. And the first one he's going to use is Force Choke, and this is where he's going to grab a random party member and hold him in the air. This really isn't a big deal unless it's the tank, because if it's the tank, he will immediately lose aggro, and Revan will go start beating on one of the DPS or the healer, and it's really going to hurt him. The next ability that he's going to use is huge knockback, and force push. Huge knockback will knock your entire group across the room, and force push will only knock whoever has aggro across the room. Now tank on both of these, you're gonna lose aggro, so make sure as soon as they go off you taunt and get back into melee range. At about 50% health, he's gonna start using Force Storm. This is an AoE dot that he casts around himself, and it also slows you. So if you are a melee DPS or a tank, just make sure that you use some kind of dash ability and you get out of there as soon as possible. The last ability that he's going to use is Falling Rocks, and this happens at about 20% health. When this happens, he's going to start spamming these gigantic boulders that are going to fall all over the room. You can see where they're going to fall by the purple circles on the ground, so just make sure you stay out of them. If you start getting beaten down in this phase of the fight, just make sure you start popping some defensive cooldowns and healers. Other than that, guys, there's nothing else really to this fight. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Leave a comment if you want me to do a specific video on something or a certain game. And I hope you all have a nice day. Bye bye.